What day is it with Seth and Kelly? Hey everyone, welcome back to What Day Is It?
Welcome back.
I got the cat for now. I don't know how long he'll stay.
I see him back there. Hi, Smee.
I think he's gone already. I went to get him and I was like, no, he's going all the way up there. He's like, nope, Daddy can't show me if I go up there. You know, he's stubborn sometimes. What can you say?
Exactly. Well, I'm so excited to be back with another episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. And today we're talking about something very deep. We're talking about spirituality, which is going to be very interesting.
Oh, your mom is already watching. She says, hey, you. Hi, Kelly's mom. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, we're going to be talking to people that are really deeply invested in spirituality, and they're going to share their journeys and practices with us. So it's going to be very interesting and informative.
This is stuff I know nothing about. So it's like,
really?
I'm not spiritual in any way, shape, or form.
So you would consider yourself not spiritual, really?
Yeah, so I'm going to learn about what it would be like to be spiritual if somehow I decided I would want to be.
Gotcha. That's great, Seth. You'll learn something new. How have you been? Of course, Seth has big news to share with you guys if you didn't know already.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess you're referring to the fact that I got engaged this weekend.
Seth got
Everyone is so excited about it. It's like we first, we just sent it to family, then friends, and then we posted it on Facebook, and the video has like 1,200 views at this point, and like almost 1,000 people liked it. We're like this close to 1,000, this close. It's crazy. I thought getting my show off Broadway was like a bigger deal, but apparently Facebook disagrees. They think the engagement is twice as exciting. Your mom says congrats. Thank you, Maureen. But I do have the video queued up because I had a feeling you would mention it. So people can go to our Zuma page and watch the birthday surprise. So here I'm like, we're done.
Good job, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you next Sunday. We're here on Sesame Street Zumba.
I was so tired.
There's a birthday surprise.
Look at her face.
I have choreographed a dance for your birthday.
Oh, wow.
Surprise! Wow, good job.
Yeah, so I did the dance, and
2, 3,
then
4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn. Other way. Same thing. Grapevine. Woo! Grapevine. She's gonna pick it up right away. Grapevine.
And then after that.
Yeah.
That was a lot harder to do than it was. I don't know how you do.
I'll put the link for it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Just kidding. There's one more birthday surprise.
What?
You think?
Aww.
This is kind of embarrassing to watch.
Oh gosh, what's the next line? I forgot my line.
This is the part where I forgot what I was saying.
Oh no. This is not supposed to happen. Oh, Atana. Right.
It's not a tana. It's a
Atana
nata.
nashi.
It was supposed to be a nata.
Nata
Nashi. Nata nashi dewa. Iki robber nai. But I forgot the iki there.
Kudasai.
That part I got right.
If you say no, we'll just cut this part.
Everyone likes that line. I was like, I said if we say no, we'll cut this part in case she said no.
Yeah, she said no. I'm so relieved. Are you surprised?
Also,
She's so surprised.
Yeah, she was really surprised. I don't know. You can see the look on her face. She's like, what? And then afterwards, she was like, was this a joke? And I was like, no, it wasn't a joke.
And you learned Japanese for her. That's amazing. That's like so romantic, Seth.
Thank you. I've been studying Japanese for a while now, and I still mess it up quite a bit. It's a very hard language to learn.
Isn't it all? It's all symbols, right? Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, there's different kinds of symbols. You have the I can never get it right. Hirajama, Hanajina. So you have the regular one, and I can read that one just fine. But then there's another one for capital letters, which doesn't look anything like the lowercase letter, and that's for more like pronouns and stuff, like names. And then there's the Chinese characters, which they also use, which are impossible because there's like hundreds of them. Here is my fiance right now. Hiragana, katakana, and kanji.
Aww.
This is why
you 3 different kinds of explaining.
Yes, it's good to have a fiance because they can explain what you're trying to say for you.
Well, thank you for explaining that, Emmy. I'm curious about learning Japanese. That's so cool. Maybe I'll look into it. I don't know.
You can do it on the Duolingo app. It's like a game, and I'm fine. I'm really good at the app, but I can't actually speak it. But I can figure it out on the app. Your mom says so cute, and congrats, fiance. It's so weird to say fiance. It's like, first you got to get used to calling someone your girlfriend, and then it's like fiance. And by the time I get used to calling her fiance, maybe she'll be a wife. But I mean, who knows when we'll be allowed to have weddings again? So it's kind of a really weird time to get engaged.
Seriously, but I mean, that's so exciting for you guys. That gives you guys something to look forward to the future for, after all this craziness.
Exactly. We're going to have a huge wedding. There'll be a cabaret and
I'm sure it's going to be a crazy wedding.
And Zumba. There's going to be Zumba. We're going to tell guests, be prepared to Zumba.
Well, that sounds really, really awesome. I'm so happy for you, Seth. So
thank you.
Let's talk a bit about our topic today of spirituality.
Yeah, go for it. I know nothing about it.
Well, as you said, Seth, you don't really consider yourself a spiritual person. Spirituality is something that's been very important to me. I was raised Catholic, so I come from like a Catholic family, but I kind of think even though that was my background, over time I grew up to kind of find my own path and kind of find where I felt I fit the most. So I don't really consider myself Catholic anymore, but for a while I was studying like paganism, which is kind of like the study of nature. It's like actually like an ancient spirituality in which you basically honor like the moon and the sun and the seasons instead of like an actual God figure. So that's always been important to me because it's not like anyone really told me to get into it. I kind of just, when I was around, like, I don't know, even ever since I was a kid, I always just looked around at nature and felt like it was like this beautiful like wonderland, and I always felt like I played in the backyard a lot as a kid, and I would always look at like the trees and look at flowers and look at things and be like, I just feel like there's like energy coming out of nature that we don't pay attention to, and I felt that way my whole life. And then as I got older in college and stuff, I just kind of always felt that when I needed an answer for something, if I was going through something, if I was struggling, if I needed help, I always felt like I would just get guidance from like the sun and the moon. I know that sounds crazy, but it's kind of just something that's always resonated with me. And I learned that there are actual spiritualities that line up with that ideal. So for a while I studied Wicca, which is actually like an umbrella term under paganism. So it's basically kind of the same thing, but a little more, it's not really being a witch. Most people think if you say you're Wiccan, you're like a witch, like, ooh, I'm gonna
on Buffy.
I'm gonna curse you. But
Willow on Buffy was a Wiccan, which was a witch.
Oh yeah. Actually, was she considered a Wiccan on the show though? Like,
I think she was Wiccan. I think
so.
Oh
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of it's very much based on like crystal magic and like different oils and herbs that you bring in to just create different energies and things you want. It's not an evil religion. There's no dark energies involved ever. So I studied that for a while too, and I just find myself to be very attracted to nature, honestly. Big into
nature makes me sneeze whenever I'm outside. It's like achoo, especially this time of year.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it can definitely give you allergies and make you sneeze.
Even talking about it, my eyes are starting to itch. It's like a Pavlov dog reaction to hearing about nature.
I hear you.
But I'm definitely a moon person because I'm a Pisces. Water signs are all ruled by the moon.
Do you feel connected to the moon ever? Do you ever have moments where you feel like the moon kind of like emotionally affects you or like affects you in a big way?
And this way I would agree. I'm definitely, well, first off, I'm nocturnal, as you know. I could stay up all night. That's not a problem. And but I find that with the new moon and the half moon and the cycle, I do find I have like an emotional monthly cycle, and I think it is very much by the moon. I did try to test it once. I think when the full moon is out, I have the best creative energy.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's kind of what I'm talking about then, Seth. So you can relate a little bit. Like
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. Everyone can be spiritual to their own extent. I mean, I kind of always felt very like just emotionally affected by the sun and the moon. The sun is very deep and important to me too.
I cannot stand the sun.
What?
I'm a vampire. I hate it. When the sun is out, I want to be inside.
What? I don't know if I believe that. Really?
Yeah, no, that's why I'm handling the quarantine better than a lot of other people. It's because I don't really like going outside. I like going outside to get to theater, but I don't like being outside per se.
Okay, I didn't know that. I love the sun. I don't know. And I've just had personal moments in my life where just the sun peeking through the trees and just little moments like that have really helped me be like, you know what? It always makes me feel like I shouldn't give up. I shouldn't give up on myself. I've had a lot of moments in my life where I've felt like
apparently your sister hates the sun too.
My sister is a vampire, that's why. So you and my sister have that in common.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I actually don't know if you could see, but my tattoo on the back of my neck is actually the sun and the moon.
Yeah, I can totally see. That's a song in Miss Saigon, Sun and Moon.
Oh, really? Wow.
You are sunlight and I moon.
Oh, Miss
I
Saigon.
could sing the whole song, but it's probably time for our first guest.
Great.
So our first guest today, we actually have 3 exciting guests, all from different spectrums of spirituality. Our first guest today is a writer, actor, and editor. He is a religious brother in the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus. I've heard of him, but I don't know much about him. He is the youngest of 7 children in a family that shares his last name. And he grew up in Omaha, which is an outer borough of New York City, a very far outer borough.
A true Gen Xer, he is fairly certain rock and roll stopped being made sometime in the late fall of 1999 and has been known even in 2020 to wear a flannel around his waist. Last summer, he saw Carrie Brownstein on a plane flying out of it, you guessed it, Portland, and decided his life has reached its apex.
Please welcome Joe Hoover. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Hi.
Thanks
Great.
for being with us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yes. So, how are you holding up during this whole crazy quarantine time right now? How's your experience been?
Oh, great question. You know, it's funny. It goes up and down. Like a couple weeks ago, I was like, I need to get out. Boom. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Just engaged. He's got to We'll be back every night.
Yep.
Tip your waiters and waitresses. Yeah, I was thinking it comes up and down, like I need to be done. And then I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. And then like, I can't take anymore. And then, okay, I can deal with this. So, but you know, I'm really fortunate. I can work at home for my day job. I work as a writer and editor at a magazine called America, which is run by the Jesuits, which is a Catholic religious order in the church.
Oh, I didn't know that Jesuits were Catholic.
Yeah, it's a part of Kelly.
Oh, well, then you definitely get along with Kelly.
I went to Catholic school. I was raised Catholic. I made my confirmation, all of that.
Yeah, confirmation.
So,
what's your confirmation name?
It's Rose, actually.
Oh, Rose.
Ooh, like the Golden Girl.
Yeah, she was a Catholic saint.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was so young. I think you only make your confirmation when you're like 12, I think, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was a really pretty name. I know you're supposed to pick after a saint, but I was like, I want a really beautiful name, so I picked a flower.
Well, Rose of Lima was a beautiful young woman who was pursued by men. And actually, she was kind of a great story because she was like, she claimed her power. She's like, I'm not just going to be some object for men. And she decided to become a nun, which back then was a way for women to claim power and not just be sort of a bought a puppet for men, right? And actually, in some ways, it still is. So she was a great saint. I think she's in Rose of Lima, Peru. So
that's so funny because I forgot that was her full name because it was so long ago. And now that you said that, I remember her name was Rose of Lima, and I never knew she stood for that. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah. She was a strong woman. Rose of Lima. Great.
Thanks for telling me that, Joe. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, you learned something today.
I did. Something important too. That's my name. So tell us a little bit about your journey with spirituality. How has it become a big part of your life?
Wow, that's a great question. I grew up the youngest of a big Catholic family in Omaha, outer borough of New York. It's just west of Staten Island, and it's not really like it became a part of my life, like literally in my mother's womb. Like it's just so ingrained in me. You probably know that, Kelly. Like even if you went a million miles from the Catholic Church in some way, it's still a part of you, right?
Of course.
Because I mean, the music, the culture, the sacraments, the the theology. Then so yeah, it's just kind of who I am. And I went to Catholic grade school and Catholic high school and college. And I knew all these Jesuits, and a lot of Jesuits are teachers. And so they taught me, and they were really like fun guys, were pretty down to earth. But also they're committed to social justice, which was very attractive. And peace activists and, working with gangs and working with and even doing the arts and so forth. So I was not surprised. By the time I became 30, I was like, I'd had that call for a long time. And I could go into that journey, but I'll just say that eventually I was like, I have to consider this life seriously, because the call kept coming back. So
that's so interesting, because my uncle actually is a deacon, and he was already married, and realized like later in life that he got like the calling, like as they call it, and he became a deacon and already had like 2 kids and everything. So like, how can you explain that? Like, what does that feel like to have like the calling? Like you just kind of know, like.
Is it like a ring? There's a special ringtone?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a woo, Seth. You have to get the iPhone 12 though to get it. So we're still being controlled by Steve Jobs. It's funny. It's something for me anyway, like on a really basic level. It's like, I really connect with these guys. They speak a language that I speak. I'm comfortable with religious language, but they're also grounded in like reality. Like they would do theater, they teach, they work as doctors, they work as, janitors, they work as not nuclear physicists, but like astronomers. So all these different fields where they find the Jesuit motto, one of the Jesuit mottos, like finding God in all things. So you don't really leave the world and go live in a desert and remove yourself from all reality to find God. You do what you're good at and what you love. And so I was drawn to them for that, but then also the call just kept coming back. There was this sense of like, even if I didn't want to, in some sense, it's like, whoa, I don't want to do that. That was still drawing me. So it's like a draw. I mean, it wasn't a bad thing. I don't want to do that, but it was something that I didn't ask for. It just kept showing up.
That's so interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Kelly's mom wants to know, are there just male Jesuits?
We have a question.
Question from the audience.
Yes, exactly. That's an interactive talk show.
I love it. Well, Kelly's mom, Maureen, there are only male Jesuits. It was founded in 1540 by St. Ignatius of Loyola, and he only wanted it to be a men's religious order. There's a lot of orders that have both, like Franciscans and Benedictine, they have priests and brothers and nuns, or sisters, I should say. But we just decided to go the route, just kind of keep things simple for a lot of different reasons, to have just men. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, my mom, the Catholic religion is like a big deal to me because I consider it part of my childhood, like it's how I grew up. It's what I was kind of raised on. And I just think personally over time, I just went into my own natural spirituality that felt more natural for me. But I think the most important thing about spirituality is like, you know what you believe and where your heart is. You know what I mean? And like, I think it's so important. And like being Catholic will always be a part of me. I mean, it was a huge part of my life for so long, a huge part of my mom's life. And definitely, it's really interesting to hear about your journey with that. Oh, my mom says, thank you. She says, well, thank you.
Oh.
Thanks for asking questions too, Mom. I feel like we haven't questions yet.
I love it.
From people. So, okay, so here's the next question. Do you feel that your spirituality has changed your life in a big way? Like, what is an example of how you think it's changed your life?
You know, in a way, well, I'd say there's two things. In a way, it just is my life. So it's not like I had an epiphany and became a Jesus freak or whatever. Not that Jesus is bad and you have to be a freak to believe in Jesus, but it's just always been my life. But so it hasn't changed it in that sense. But there's been moments where I knew God was a part of my life in a very direct, powerful way. For instance, I remember coming home from a play. I was in New York acting and writing plays before I joined the Society of Jesus. And I was walking home at a great performance. It was off Broadway. Everything was going great. I was like the lead or whatever. And got a lot of accolades. And I walked home from 42nd to my apartment in Lower East Side. I was like, this is so great, but I'm still missing something. There's something more that I'm longing for. And that was like one of those God moments where it's like, you know, you're still restless for something. Or there was another moment on a retreat where I had this encounter with Mary, the mother of Jesus, in prayer. And, you know, not to go into the whole thing, but it was a powerful emotional moment where, I mean, basically it was like, the message is always the same. You're okay as you are. You can trust me, you know, God is with you. I mean, that's what all spirituality, I think, comes down to. God is on your side. Don't worry. God is there, whatever you do, good or bad.
Yeah.
I think that's what it boils down to.
Well, apparently, according to River Sage Wellness, there was one Jesuit woman.
Very, very good. Very good, River. Actually, the magazine I write for is going to, has a couple articles, has an article coming out about that. There was a couple exceptions. Well, not to get into the whole thing, people can read that article. It wasn't the intention to have a specific, like the Yankees, and then we're going to have the Red Sox. It was like one Red Sox kind of got into the, you know, major leagues. And but I don't know, that's a terrible analogy. Sorry.
I don't know sports either.
Yeah, right. They're baseball. You go like this. So,
sports, spirituality, Jesus, I don't know anything. I'm just going to nod a lot. All right, well, thank you, Joe. That was really great.
My pleasure.
We're going to go on to our next guest. We'll bring you back for our roundtable discussion at the end.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for chatting with us. We'll talk to you soon.
That was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to learn that about my confirmation name. That was so cool.
I know. You're learning about yourself. All right, so I think,
crazy.
All right, you have the first line there.
All right, so our next guest today works at River Sage Wellness in Yardley, PA, helping clients reach their goals for mind, body, and spirit. She's a holistic practitioner and healer and herbalist who uses a variety of holistic tools to help assist in one's healing journey, looking at the whole mind, body, and spirit to bring one into balance and harmony.
She has also been an author for Elephant Journal and National Eating Disorder Association, and has guest starred on Freeform's The Letter as a mentor and advocate for eating disorders. 12 years in recovery from anorexia, she is the leader of eating disorder recovery groups and has been in Cosmopolitan and Teen Vogue sharing her story.
She is also a Reiki Level 2 certified clinical hypnotherapist, herbalist, aromatherapist, flower essence practitioner, certified yoga teacher, leader up for Serene Teen, volunteer with Hearts for Autism, freelance photographer and co-teacher of classes on angels, crystals, energy, holistic lifestyle strategies, plant medicine, and a lot of other fun stuff.
And when she's not working, she loves being out in nature with the trees, spending time with her plants, and the herb spiral that she made this year. Hopefully we'll learn what that is. She has a long list of food allergies, so finding new things to make that are allergy friendly make her happy.
Finally, she gets excited when traveling to places with mountains and is a big Beatles and Stevie Nicks fan, who also enjoys listening to Ayla Nereo, Nako Bear and Medicine for the People, Rising Appalachia, and Elephant Revival. I've never heard of these bands.
I gave you all of those. Oh, look, Smee is back. Who knew?
Smee!
Yay. Please welcome Jeanette Suros. Hey, Jeanette. How's it going?
Thanks for chatting with us. I'm
excited to be here.
Yay, I'm excited too. I'm so sorry I couldn't pronounce any of your favorite bands.
No, that's okay. A lot of people don't know who they are.
Are they like indie bands? That's like the vibe I'm getting.
They are. They're alternative indie bands, but then they also add in spirituality into their music. So they're really cool.
That's
they're really cool.
I'll have to check them out. So it's nice to finally meet you.
Kelly's mom says hi.
Hi, Kelly's mom.
I actually brought on some friends for this episode. Usually it's just been Seth bringing on people, but I'm starting to bring on guests.
Yeah, we had one of your friends last week.
Oh, last week, yeah. But I know Jeanette because I used to teach her father voice lessons. And yeah, for a long time. Your dad is great. We've had some great conversations. So it's great to finally meet you. But tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey and how you found spirituality and how it came into your life.
And I also want to know what an herb spiral is at some point.
Yes. So actually I didn't really find spirituality. It was more since I was little, I was very tuned in. So I did grow up Roman Catholic as well. However, I didn't fully understand growing up. I didn't really conform to a lot of the ways that Catholicism was. However, I knew that there was I knew there was something higher. I knew I believe in all the angels and Jesus and all of that. However, just the way that it was, I didn't align with it. Mm-hmm. So even though I did my confirmation, even though I did it very late, I did do all of that. I kind of went on my own path. And I know, Kelly, you had mentioned earlier in the talk show, I was very similar in connecting with nature. Mm-hmm. I was always outside, and I connected with the flowers, with the trees. There was a time that when I was younger, I had a asthma attack, and I was outside, and I was with a Girl Scout group that wasn't my Girl Scout troop. I tended to jump around Girl Scout troops just to go on trips. And I had an asthma attack out there, and I was freaking, I couldn't breathe. However, throughout that mist, I kind of tuned out everybody and focused on this tree that was there because we were out in the woods. And I started to match my breath pattern with the way that the leaves were blowing.
Wow.
And so that. And my pattern began to sustain me to be able to, until I was able to get to the car to get the treatment. But I believe that tree is really what helped me. And so when I tell people, this tree saved me, but if you think about it, the trees deliver us oxygen. Mm-hmm. And I believe that, everything, all these living things have consciousness. They're all, when you walk around, you feel things. I know, Seth, you had talked about the moon. There's a feeling you get. You may sometimes not be able to understand or explain what that feeling exactly is in words, but you can feel it. And there's something there. Mm-hmm. And so growing up, that's how I was. I was very intuitive and able to, I was knowing things that no one was understanding where I was knowing it. So, as I matured and grew up, I I was a nanny all my life for years. And, but I knew that there was something more that I wanted to do. And I was very into crystals. I was very, into the whole plants and making concoctions and things that I didn't even know. But when I knew that it got to a point probably around 25, a lot of which also my eating disorder, there was also this hiding piece of who I was. I didn't feel comfortable embracing my gifts because, again, a lot of people would label it as witch. People were labeling as, oh, she's into all of that. And I never really was into labels. So that's why, like, when people ask, like, what religion are you? I just say I'm just spiritual, because I don't really go by any labels. And nor doesn't mean that I don't believe in, Jesus, or because of course I am very tuned in with Christ consciousness. And one of my things that I like to share with people is bringing them back to their breath and love. And because at the end of the day, we're all made with love. And that's, in all different shapes and forms of how to bring that in. So when it comes to me working with the plants, there's these feelings that each plant gives. And it kind of helps people come back to their essence. Flower essence therapy is very similar with that too. It's, it's the vibrational medicine of the plant. So, each one, whatever somebody's going through, on a mental, spiritual aspect, I would give them these different remedies to help them, because what the goal is to come back to their core essence, and everybody's core essence, I believe, is love. So that's kind of where I kind of stand in that. So I never would, I never would say that I ever really, that it was a found thing. It was always with me, but the maturity of it has grown. So, which is why I do the things that I do now.
That's amazing. So I really feel like I relate to your story in so many ways. It's almost kind of freaky, especially with the whole being drawn to nature thing and not wanting to label your spirituality as anything specific, because like, I don't know what I would consider myself either, I'm just spiritual. I just feel that there's energy in nature that has helped me. And I actually have a similar story with a tree myself, but so I totally understand what you're saying. It's really cool to know that there are other people out there who have experienced the same things, because it could get a little uncomfortable to talk about when people don't understand that feeling,
Yeah, Kelly's mom also had a similar spiritual experience when she suffered an injury. And also, Jeanette's father says hi.
Oh, hi, Jose, my old student. Jose, hello. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in.
He basically says you guys are both awesome. No mention of me whatsoever. So what is an herb spiral? Because I need to know.
So an herb spiral, so one of the things with the herbs that I like to do is bringing people back to it's not, I feel we've all, everybody has gotten disconnected. So it's kind of bringing people back to, what our ancestors have used way before medicine has even, surfaced. So, all of these healing herbs are here to help us. And so the herb spiral is, we did it through stones. So it's I had a picture, but it's a spiral, and inside that spiral is the healing herbs. So it's all different herbs that are in there to come out, and so I can create and make different herbal remedies for people and for myself. So that's kind of pretty much what the herb spiral is. And you just, when you're creating this herb spiral, it's something that I like to go out in the mornings to go look at it. I like to, it's very cool to see. And that's pretty much what it is. It's just healing herbs that you can make all different things with. But what I love about it is being able to, because for the longest time moving around, and I would just from places get different herbs from. So to be able from your own herbs, your own thing, to go out there and grab those herbs. There's just something very special about that. And just connecting with them.
That's really interesting. That's so cool. And how do you feel that? By the way, I do want to show you. I have the rose quartz.
Rose is for your name, Rose.
It's I know, funny, right? It's a rose quartz heart, and your dad gave this to me as a Christmas present, and I've been using it to meditate with ever since. So I'm so glad I get to finally meet you, because this has been very important to me.
Her father says I'm awesome too, by the way, just for the record. And he says, he's doing well.
Good. I'm glad you're doing well. I know times are hard right now. So how would you say spirituality has changed your life? As a final question.
How it's changed my life. So I kind of go similar back to where it hasn't really changed me. It's for it wasn't that really changed me. However, I evolved more with it. So again, I've always been spiritual. There were times, when I was in a darker place that my spirituality and kind of things kind of got messed, but that was more so because I was hiding who I truly was. But once I embraced these gifts, so to call, I've evolved more, and being able to now share that with others, and especially during these times, a lot of people who don't really, who I see a lot of people going into spirituality now, and they don't know where where do I start? Where do I, I don't really even know what to even do. So it's kind of bringing people, which I do in yoga too, which kind of bringing people back to their breath, because it's in our breath that, where we can find ourselves and where we can tune in. So getting to just first be still and learning how to find their breath can then open the gateway to, to their spiritual journey. And, whether it's the moon, or the sun, or whatever it is. I always try to show that you can find spirit, and spirit can be whatever, again, whatever it is to you, but you can find spirit in all consciousness things, the tree, the grass, even, anything. So it's more so evolved, and being able not to share that with others has been a big gift.
That's amazing.
Well, thank you so much. That was great. Kelly's mom says so interesting, and I agree. We'll bring you back in a bit for our roundtable discussion, and Kelly is going to call our final guest on the phone right now.
He actually, thank you, Jeanette, for speaking with us. He actually called me twice.
Oh no.
While Jeanette was talking, and I didn't want to stop her segment, so I'm hoping it's still okay. But
all right, well, let's read his intro, and then we'll call him, because all right. Our final guest today is a rainbow warrior from Earth who works with his fellow mindful millennials, passionate progressives, and wellness practitioners to help make the world a happy, healthy, and holy place. Very illiterate.
He spends his time training in shamanism, teaching wellness, visiting eco-villages, traveling to festivals, and building up his personal brand, and found his true north by traveling to over 70 wellness gatherings, festivals, and events.
Over the past 7 years, he has worked with over 10 startups, there goes the cat, studied computer engineering as an undergrad, pursued a master's in technical entrepreneurship, and became a certified yoga instructor, Reiki master, and a Ayurvedic nutritionist. His lifelong goal is to use his passions for spirituality, science, startup socialism, and shamanism to change the world.
His personal practice is a means of leading the existential revolution of consciousness by raising the collective vibration of humanity to the frequency of peace, love, and joy through the evolution of paradise for our planet.
All right, please welcome
Rob
A. Earth.
Hopefully he picks up.
She's calling. I'm going to put up his website, why she calls him.
Aloha.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
We're good. We have your website on the screen while we're talking to you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. I saw that you called, but we were talking to our second guest, so I'm sorry. But I'm so glad we could chat now. So Yeah, Rob, so tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey and how spirituality has come into your life.
That is a glorious question. So my spiritual journey began when I was born, and for the past 29 years has been a very awesome adventure and an intense roller coaster of challenges and lessons and quests that have led me to this present moment, having this conversation with you. And my spiritual journey, I was indoctrinated actually into the Catholic Church, and that was my expression of spirituality for many years. I actually almost became a priest.
Wow.
I was, trained up until high school in the Catholic way, and bought it hook, line, and sinker because that was the only thing I'd ever been exposed to. And then everything changed when the internet became a thing, and I started looking into what the world has to offer in terms of other spiritualities. And I realized that there was nothing separating me from a Buddhist or a Jewish person or a Mormon. It just depends on which family you're born into.
I'm a Jewish person.
What was that?
I'm the only Jewish person here today. It's all Catholics and me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's just so many these days. Like lumping them all together into just people that are religious versus people that are not religious tends to be a pretty simple way. But now there's like this new thing, like the modern spirituality, like millennial spirituality, where like everyone's like, oh, I'm just gonna, do my own thing, but I'm a totally spiritual person. I think that in itself is a really interesting phenomenon. And that's what I actually came to after, going into atheism and science for a while. There's a quote that I feel like describes my spiritual journey very well by Dr. Schrodinger. He said that was it him? No, it was Heisenberg. Anyway, some scientist said that when you take your first sip of the cup of science, you become atheist because you have all the answers to everything you need. But then when you get to the bottom of the cup, you find God and you become spiritual. So that happened to me. And now here I am, training in shamanism in the Four Corners region of Colorado. And, just walking my path of finding ways to be in right relation with myself, my personal gifts, my magic, other beings that I encounter along the way, and also nature, because that is the ultimate law and force in the cosmos.
Wow, that's amazing, Rob.
Thank you.
That's so cool. So you're actually in Colorado doing that now? Like you're studying right now?
Yes.
Wow. Well, and I know you also help other people with their own spiritual questions that they have, as you did for me. Because Rob gave me a reading a few months ago when I was in a really, really dark place and really needed help. And all I'm going to say to you is you were right. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into detail, but I was okay and I survived, just as you said. And I understand what you were trying to explain to me. So what do you mean by finding your true north? Because that's something I'm interested in hearing about.
Sure. So that is a concept, like if you think of in the medicine wheel of the indigenous tribes, we walk through the directions in order to get to through the cycle of the seasons in order to get through a full cycleness, I guess. Full walk around the hoop, they say. So we start in the east with the sunrise, and we end in the north. So the north is the direction that leads us home. It leads us to our true selves. So my true north being the actual direction of my life, opposed to the direction that I had been told was the direction that I should be going. Throughout my life has been told, there are certain professions that are like okay, and then there are others that are just beneath you and just not worth your time. Don't do those things. So the ones that were like accepted were like, you can be a priest, you can be a politician or a businessman. My father and my uncle all worked on Wall Street together, for instance. So that was like a really acceptable job. But if you had other things like, also engineer was another one that was totally accepted. But things that I wanted to do, like, go into the mountains of the Himalayas and study chanting and praying and with the monks, that was, that's not cool.
Mm.
Or, being a yoga teacher or a philosopher. None of that. That's not cool. And, definitely stay away from drugs. Those things are bad. So to be who I am now, studying shamanism and working with entheogenic plant medicines, that's kind of like the other side of the spectrum with those. And for me, it's actually the embodiment of that. I had interest in all of those different fields, but it wasn't the actual purpose or mission that was in my life. But I have found that now, and I'm very grateful to be walking that path.
That's so beautiful, because in a way, I think even if you're not spiritual, like, spiritual in a sense, anyone could kind of relate to that feeling of like feeling the pressure that society and even family puts on us to have to pursue a specific path. And it sounds like, you found what your heart truly beat for, and you went after what you really wanted because you knew that would give you the biggest sense of happiness. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. That's hard for a lot of people to do. I mean, I felt that pressure myself many times. So I definitely...
That kind of pressure, it's going to build and build and build until like either you're too old and you die, or you do the thing.
Yeah.
So it's like creator's kind of way of like nudging us like out of the nest of our comfort zone, just like, hey, trust me, you'll either fly or there's a bed of feathers on the bottom to catch you. So
absolutely, that's
it's very important to follow your dreams.
Definitely, and follow what feels right and natural for you. So that's great how, like, I really feel like I could relate to what you said, even though I haven't gone on the same spiritual journey that you have, but it's taken me a long time to like really own who I am and like put that out to the world. So I feel like that's kind of the journey you went on within choosing your path. So thank you for being so brave.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. What advice?
I mean,
go ahead.
To be fair, like I had my doubts. I still have my doubts along the way, but it's the faith that everything is going to work out, and if it's not working out, then it's not over yet. So just trusting that because I jumped, that something good is going to happen.
Yeah,
eventually.
Absolutely.
I certainly hope so.
That's all we could do. We could hope and be positive. Even though that's hard right now, but
it's super hard.
It's so hard.
It's like really hard to be a human from Earth right now. Has anybody else noticed that?
Oh my gosh, yes. To be
I feel like I'm just a human from my apartment.
I feel like every day it's hard to be human from Earth, but especially now.
Yeah, now it's extra hard.
What advice would you give to someone who is interested in spirituality but like never really dabbled in it before? What advice would you give to someone to start if they wanted to start on a spiritual path?
Well, that's a really good question. I would say to anyone that's looking to explore spirituality is to start by looking inward. Just literally close your eyes, start breathing naturally, and ask your own heart, what do you feel is true? What do you want to be true? And what kind of reality do you want to live in? So at the end of the day, spirituality is just a shared metaphysical perspective of the collective reality that we all experience. So if I have my perspective and you have your perspective and they're resonant enough, then we have a shared perspective. But if mine is so disjointed from yours that we can't even, start a conversation, then it becomes challenging to communicate in an authentic way and in an effective way. So if you're going into the spiritual world, recognize that you kind of have to leave everything else behind. You have to essentially forget everything that you've ever been taught and open yourself up to the potential that anything and everything could be true or false, and that there is an abundance of material available. Right? There are books in all stores around the planet that can teach you about someone else's expression of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And you can read all of them and still not know what your spirituality is until you look into your heart. So if you start there, then you have kind of a leg up on the whole process.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's an honor to be able to chat with y'all.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to bring everyone back for our roundtable now.
I think we could, Rob, it's we're going to be just be answering like fun questions now. So I think this could work if I hold the phone here, right?
All right. Yeah, we could try it if you can hear us.
Yeah.
All right. So Kelly, you have the first roundtable question.
Okay. Let me actually pull up our script because.
Oh, is your script on your phone?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I always keep it on my phone. All right. I got it. Okay, so we're gonna go around. What's your favorite app? Oh my god, I feel like all we've done was like complain about like iPhones this whole time, and now the first question is what's your favorite app? I guess I'll go first. We're gonna go around the circle. So
yeah, go first, and then we'll do Rob, and we'll do the circle.
Mine is Instagram. I just take pictures of everything, and I love just being able to look back on my memories and seeing how I've changed over the years and how my experiences have changed over the years, and kind of just looking back on pictures could really remind you of, wow, I remember that point in my life. I remember when I was there. It kind of brings back a whole flood of emotions. So I really like Instagram the most. What about you, Rob?
I love it. I actually don't have a smartphone, so I don't use apps very much. I have a flip phone. But when I did have a phone, I really liked the Shazam app, because I can find out what any song was.
Yeah.
My only gripe with the app is that it doesn't work with indigenous music or like non-English music. So that's mostly what I listen to. So I tend to just use Spotify.
You should totally watch my sitcom pilot. My sitcom pilot is all about me having a flip phone, although now I don't have one anymore. But it was very funny.
I love
it. What about you, Joe? Do you have a favorite app? What would your
It's not very exciting, but I think the one I use the most lately is Google Calendar.
Okay. Hey, I mean, I think it's good to have a calendar right now. I mean, because the days blend together.
No, it's actually, I literally used to carry around a planner with me all the time. So now I can just,
I have a
but
planner.
I'm not too sexy.
I use pencil, and I have a planner, and it has a little cat bookmark there.
That's because we're Xers, Jen, or Seth.
That my fiance's mom gave me those little stickers.
They're cute.
And I write things in the planner. Yeah.
Aw, that's cute.
That's awesome.
What about you, Jeanette?
Well, I also have a writing calendar too. So I like the whole handwriting stuff.
Yes.
I guess I don't really know which is my favorite. I do like Spotify. I like that, you're able to make your own playlists, and not just because I'm paying for it, that I'm trying to work my way saying I like it, but because I feel like there's all these, you can now do podcasts. There's so many new things you can do on it. So I do like it. Instagram, I do like, I'm still actually I feel like, and I'm only 29 years old, and I feel like I'm not as tuned in as more people are with it, where there's this whole TV thing and this whole channel thing that I'm like, I don't even know how that works yet. I probably should figure that out, because it probably could benefit. And now that a lot of things are virtual. So yeah, I guess fun wise, I do like, I like my photos and stuff for Facebook and Instagram, connecting more so, but I like Spotify, I guess.
Me too. Yeah. I like Spotify.
Cool.
I try to convert everyone I know to Spotify if they don't use it. I'm like, you don't use Spotify? Why? Explain.
When they're like, oh, I have ads on these things. I'm like, or you use Spotify, and you don't have to have that, and you can make your own playlist.
Yes, and you always know everything you're listening to is something you're gonna like. I guess Pandora doesn't do that. Pandora's like, you might like this, and it's like, I definitely don't. Seth, what about you?
Well, I will say that on Spotify, you can find both the CD to my musical Love Quirks and my other musical, The Diamond as Big as the Reds, and my podcast, Millennials Are Ruining the World, an exennial perspective, is also on Spotify. And with Instagram TV, I will say that I hate it because I don't watch things on a phone. And I put one video up, but it was a landscape video, and it wouldn't let me do it, so I had to flip it. And it was a big mess. So I am not an Instagram TV person. I don't watch Instagram lives because I won't watch anything on the phone. So that I don't like doing much on the phone. I miss my flip phone terribly. As I said, my sitcom pilot is about when I had a flip phone. It's very funny. But I guess I would go with Scrabble because I like Scrabble app as opposed to the Word Was Friend app. The Scrabble app doesn't have ads, and I prefer that. Oh, and I forgot to say, Kelly's mom loves Google Calendar, and then Jeanette's father said this was an excellent program, so he's thanking us.
Yeah,
we're not done yet, Dad. We're still going a little bit more. Two more questions. Our second roundtable question, I'll answer, then we'll go in a circle. What is the favorite place you have ever visited and why? And of course, the audience, you're welcome to answer these questions too. My favorite place to visit was Iceland, hands down. Iceland is like a different planet. My friend Nikki and I went to Iceland, and it was the best week ever. And I have the picture on my desktop and the pictures on the wall. Iceland is just so cool, pun intended, but it is really, really cool. I highly recommend Iceland. Kelly, what is your favorite place?
Honestly, I wish I traveled more, and I need to travel. That's like on my bucket list because I haven't been very many places. But I did one time when I was 18 visit my uncle who lives in Maine, and there was this beautiful Japanese flower garden, and it just like never left my mind. Like I still see it. It was just like trails upon trails of like every flower you can imagine. I really like flowers, so I would say that was mine. And then Rob, how about you?
I would say that my favorite place is probably the mountains just outside of Boulder, Colorado. When I first moved there, I was like, holy shit, is this a postcard or am I looking out the window of my car here? This is amazing. And then actually going into the mountains, and at first you think like, oh, this mountain that you see is the biggest mountain. But then when you get to the top of that mountain and you look out, there's actually dozens of other mountains that are a lot higher that you couldn't see from where you were before. So that was a really awesome experience.
That's so cool. And then how about you, Joe?
You know what? It's about 3 blocks from where Seth is, Broadway District. I love walking through Broadway. I love the area. I love going to shows.
It's pretty quiet right now.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. So not as fun right now.
Yes.
But that's one of my favorite. Yeah.
I love that. New York is magical too.
Yeah.
Jeanette's father likes Australia. Kelly's mother likes Grenada, where people were so gracious, and she also likes that Japanese garden. All right, Jeanette, where is your favorite place that you've been?
So my favorite place that I've been actually is Virginia. I went with Robin Schroyer, who I live with, and who's the owner of River Sage Wellness. We went to Virginia to go visit my sister who lives there, and the mountains there and the trees with the mountains, everything in there was just so breathtaking. And it almost like when we entered there, we had so many like inspirations for River Sage and inspirations for things we wanted to do. It was almost like all of our worries. I know for myself, at least speaking, that my worries, it's like the mountains weren't allowing me to even touch those worries. Like the mountains were this block, and everybody there was so nice and was so grounded, and like they were just happy in their own little towns, and was like, we have the mountains, we have all we need here. And it was just so down to earth and great. And the whole trip, we went on these random, we went down these random trails that we have no idea where we were ending up. And we went to this great place called Fairy Stone Park, and everything was so magical. And the whole trip was just so great that even today, during even these quarantine times, when I start going down a little into that low place, like, and even some health issues that I was dealing with, I will tune in and go back to the memory of Virginia to bring me back to this like happy place. So definitely Virginia would have to be my favorite place. And I can't wait to go there again in August. I eventually do want to go travel to more like mountain places and redwoods. I definitely want to see, but for places that I've been, definitely Virginia.
So cool. I might have to visit now. That sounds amazing.
It's great.
So we're on to the last question. This one's really fun and simple. So if you were a color, what color would you be and why?
Oh my goodness.
I know, I feel the same way because honestly, I have like two that I think I would be. So I guess I'll go first because we're going around. I honestly always felt attracted to yellow just because I'm very positive. I'm kind of very in touch with like my childlike energy at all times. But also I'm very drawn to hot pink because hot pink was my first favorite color as a kid. And I love pink and I'm a huge girly girl. I love hot pink. To me is kind of just like, you know what? Like I am who I am. I'm going to be exactly who I want to be. And I don't know. I'm just attracted to those colors. They're cheery and they're bright and they're fun and they're bold. So I would say hot pink or yellow. What about you, Rob?
Good choices. Well, I would say currently my favorite color is the rainbow. And I will stand firm that is indeed a color. However, when I was a child, I actually came up with my own color because I really liked blue and I really liked purple and I couldn't decide. So I just came up with a color called blurple, which was the combination of the two. I found out as an adult that that's actually called indigo. But,
True.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's even a band, the Indigo Girls.
True.
90s. Awesome, Seth. Love it. 80s, 90s.
We learned of a new color today, guys, blurple. What about you, Joe?
I always liked green as a kid, and still. And maybe like you guys about nature and stuff, maybe because it's just leafy, calming, grass, lawns, deep woods, summertime. I love summertime, hiking, camping. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. How about you, Jeanette?
So I have a whole range of them. I like a lot of earth colors. Teal is one of my number one favorite colors because I like green. I love the color greens. But I also like blues. So teal is that nice blend that has both of them in there. So definitely teal. And that sagey green, which is close to teal too. Those two are like my favorite colors. I did go, even though people will see that my whole wardrobe and all my shoes are all like these brown earth colors. They all literally are the same colors. But I always sound like, yes, but teal and sage green are my favorite colors.
Pretty. What about you, Seth?
Well, first, Jeanette's father likes aqua because he's a Miami Dolphins fan, and River Sage Wellness is very excited about blurple. I would say that my favorite color is chartreuse, which is like a green yellow. It's actually, you picked the yellow from our logo and the hot pink, and I picked the bright green there. And it's, I don't know, I really love green. I don't know, I think that means I like power. I think that's what green means, but it's my favorite color. I think it's also my nephew's favorite color. Aww. And also it's Kermit's favorite color. And if I was green, I could sing It's Not Easy Being Green and really mean it.
Very true. Well, this was such a great episode.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. That's about our time.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we made this work. And I think we learned so much about spirituality on all different aspects.
Yeah, I'm excited to meet someone who doesn't have a smartphone because I miss my flip phone.
Yeah.
You should totally watch my sitcom pilot because that's all it's about. All right, so let's let the guests go, and then we'll end the show. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right.
Bye.
I'll pull up our theme song. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. This has been super fun episode. What do we have next week? Oh, next week is Kelly's mom said thank you. Everyone was great. And then Jeanette's dad said this was awesome. Applause emojis. Yes, well, we're here every week, guys.
Every week.
Next week is Kelly's birthday show.
Next week is my birthday. So we're going to be talking about something a little more lighthearted. And we're just going to be talking to some guests about what they felt they learned during quarantine about themselves.
Yeah, it's all Kelly's friends next week.
Yes, so we're all just going to talk about what these 4 months have taught us and celebrate my birthday. So it's going to be a really fun episode. So I'm excited.
Yes. All right, so we'll see you then right here next week, guys, on What Day Is It?
Yep, see you guys next time.
What Day Is It? With Seth and Kelly. All right, thanks for watching, everyone.
See you next time.